Alrighty, everybody, welcome in. My name is Joe. Let's see what kind of games we can get into. All right, so my opponent's leading off with the queen's pawn. I'm going to go for a basic standard opening. This is what's called the queen's gambit. I'm going to decline the gambit. I'm not going to capture. That's only because I've studied the queen's gambit, and I know that there's a few traps that can happen if you jump into that square too quickly. So if you grab this, there's a few traps that can open, so it's just not worth it to grab it right away. At some point, we will capture, then our opponent will capture back. I'm going to try something different that I don't normally do. I'm going to go for this dark square fianchetto. This is known as the King's Indian defense, or a variation of. I'm not versed on it. I don't know what exactly that variation is. So here's one of the tricks that we play in the Queen's Gambit is now my opponent has developed their bishop. So if I capture, the whole purpose of that bishop was to capture back. We can force him to lose tempo. He's going to have to move that bishop twice in a row, essentially. All right, so now the question is, what do we want to do here? Well, we have to get the rest of our pieces developed, so let's keep developing. Maybe something like this? I don't know. Assuming my opponent's going to grab now. We'll grab back towards the center. Now, this bishop is weakly defended by this knight, but I'm about to develop this knight. So this bishop is slightly undefended. If my opponent captures now, I will gladly trade off the light square bishops, because I know that in the Queen's Gambit lines, some of the light square bishops become very useful. If I can remove it, then I'm happy. That's only, I know that from studying the Queen's Gambit a little bit. Don't know exactly when it's better to trade and when it's better to hold on, but in some of my studying, Queen's Gambit, specifically some of the lines that I play, where the light square bishop is on this diagonal, that light square bishop can be a strong piece. So through my studies, I have determined that it's best to go ahead and get rid of it if possible. Now my opponent could push past, at which point I could push up because this is technically still defended. I'm not happy with my pawn structure here, right? If we look at just the pawns, all of my pawns are on light square, and my light square bishop is behind that. So my light square bishop is stuck until I get rid of a pawn. I'm hoping to see a trade. Guessing the trade's going to happen here, if I'm honest with you. I'm going to start here. All right. Now what? Force a queen trade. I can't take that pawn back. Um, maybe? There's a lot of action happening on the queen's side of the board, right? So, be okay with that. Now, my opponent has to either move their knight or capture. I'm assuming they're going to capture, which lets me strengthen my position a little better. We've got plenty of time on the clock, so we are going to start slowing down. Now that we've progressed to a middle game, we are really going to start slowing down now and evaluating our moves, figuring out better ways to play, because we've got the time. Now I'm scanning the board, looking at what my opponent has. My opponent's got some strong pieces here. This could be a real possibility. There's nothing really that this is doing. So I'm going to go defend that knight and attack this bishop. I can get this pawn pushed. I might be able to stick my knight here. I think I'm okay with that, actually. It could be a pawn sacrifice, so I have to keep that in mind. But I am up a pawn, so sacrificing a pawn while I'm up a pawn, I'm okay with. Realistically, I want to park my knight here. I think that feels pretty good. Since all the action's been happening on the queen side, that knight would control queen side really well. Oops. So I think that's a good spot. Now, there is the thing is, if I put my knight here, I will be blocking the defense of that pawn. That's something I have to keep an eye on. I might have a tactic, though. So I could, if my opponent, if I block that, and then my opponent grabs the pawn, I could swing my knight here, immediately threaten the queen, and then my opponent would have to move the queen and defend the pawn at the same time, which they can't do. That covers everything. Okay. That tactic doesn't work so well anymore because I'd be risking my queen, and that's not what I want to do. We've got this pawn defended, but I don't really... Game is not really to defend that pawn. I was using that pawn as a distraction so I could park my knight here. I don't have any good discoveries, right? So now that that queen is there, he's gonna get his other rook up. There's really not a way I can attack that rook immediately. Well, actually, no, because any way I look at it, I'm risking my queen. All right, so we're letting that pawn go. Let's shift our attention now. Shift our attention somewhere. Capture, capture. These two were reversed, I'd be pretty happy. All right, well, we have to go for this. Like I said, my opponent's going to grab here. Not a good discovery that I have. So this knight is going to be pinned for a while. He could no, yeah, he could take with the bishop. So since there's no good discoveries here, there's no like check or anything. This undefended rook doesn't help me right now. Ah, I can't get my queen over the way I wanted it to. All right, that's fine. Um, get a rook lift into play. See if we can shift our other rook over. The knight being there, I thought I could maybe squeeze my queen over and put pressure here. But nah, it's not going to happen. All right, so the only thing I'm threatening now is a pawn, but even then, it's not a big deal. This will be easily defended. I'm assuming my opponent will just slide a rook over. Now we're getting somewhere. That knight being gone helps. Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, I did not see that. See, that's why moving that pawn out of the way can be dangerous. Might be able to squeeze a tactic. Not sure, guys. I'm not sure. My opponent's got a lot of threats here. I'm assuming something like that's coming. Something like that. Nope, can't do that because that... technically, it's defended. That is not defended. I could get my queen here. That would be a wonderful thing for me right now. My protection over here is all gone. I've got very little protection. My light square bishop is doing a nice job, but not being able to defend. Kind of blocked in. I mean, it's defended, but just not in a good position with my queen right now. No, that's still defended. So my opponent has what's called back rank issues. This wall of pawns is great, but it's also blocking the king in. So if I could stick a rook or a queen along this back row, it becomes checkmate very quickly. This is my next move. Because now the threat is here. My opponent's got a lot going on as well. I'm assuming this check is going to happen. My opponent is defending. I have an additional threat now. So now we're at each other's throats, right? We're both, I'm crazy exposed. My opponent is also a little discombobulated. Simple pawn push should suffice. But then I grab with check. And then this pawn is blocking the defense of the rook. So I grab with check and then grab the rook. That's a plan. I don't know if it's a great plan, but it's a plan. So we're in a time issue now. So now that we've used a lot of our time, we still have plenty of time. We don't have to panic, but we do want to keep things rolling. That is defended. Things got tangled pretty quickly for my opponent here. They're also still tangled for me. I am not out of the woods at all. Like, not even a little bit. I'm sure there's plenty of things that I've missed in this game. But as I'm talking, I'm just scanning my opponent's board, looking at what traps he might have, you know, if there's any kind of sacrifice he could make that's going to force me to respond. This is a threat here for my opponent that needs to solve. Obviously, the queen issue is a thing to solve. Probably just sticking the queen back might be the best option, but that still gives me access to this. Okay. So there is a tactic here. Captures, captures. If I have anything, I'm just looking to see if there's any last minute heroics. Capture, capture, capture a rook, and he can't capture my rook back. So I should be okay. So those are the things we have to double check. Now his bishop lives, right? But he's got a light square bishop, so I'll probably park my queen on a dark square. And then it becomes an endgame. And we're up material in this endgame. And my opponent's down on the clock. So I think we might eke this one out, friends. Which is good because my rating has been falling. And at 1500, I'd like to stay above 1500 if possible. Actually, it wasn't a mistake. Could give back some material, to be honest with you. Oh, can't do that. Can't do that. Let's go ahead and give back some material. We'll pick up here. We're threatening here. So we're still up material. Got to get my king into the game. Now that's a defended pawn. Doubly defended. I'm going to pick this guy up. He takes. I take with the queen. And now if we trade off rooks, I'm happy with that plan. I still get a queen. Now we just have to checkmate with a bishop and a queen without letting our opponent get into stalemate. So we just make sure that all of these moves come with check. And my opponent resigned. Good game, well played. All right, so that one got really crazy really fast, but this is the Queen's Gambit Declined. I'm declining to take the free pawn, and that's normal. I'm going to put the analysis on just so we can kind of look to see. Here's the opening explorer, so we can follow other games that have been played. 37,000 games with bishop d6. Interesting move. Immediately trade off dark square bishops. We're at 67,000 games. You can see how many thousands of games have been played from these exact positions. White has a slight advantage here with that move because my knight is insufficiently defended. Plus, I'm wasting a tempo pushing another pawn. Rotating it around, I got my bishop developed now. And this exact same board state, we're still at well over 1,000 games. Now we're finally into a limited number of games from this exact position. The engine says develop, and I pushed a pawn. Wow, the engine hates that move, doesn't it? Yeah, why is that a bad thing? Oh, because he does have a double attack there, I see. Yeah, he's still got a double attack and I only have a single defender. Okay, fair enough. That wins a pawn for my opponent. But we ended up getting out of that, didn't we? A pretty even game throughout. That one mistake on my part of not counting. Okay, yeah, should have gotten my knight. See, I was thinking that if I did this and my opponent grabbed. Yeah, I was hoping for this plan. I was hoping for something like this. Because then if grabs, then I've got this attack with tempo. Something like that. But oh well. Didn't happen. That's okay. Anything else crazy here? Yeah, my opponent had about a 1-point advantage throughout most of this game, it looks like. Huge mistake on my part. Massive, massive, massive mistake. Now there's some serious pressure. Okay, okay. Note to self, do not do this. Bad rook lift right there. Too much exposure. I dodged a bullet, and then my opponent's attack here. This was very good on my opponent. Yeah, I'm really surprised, honestly, and I said this multiple times, I'm surprised the rooks didn't come over and really double up and really put pressure on. Oh, I missed. But that's not defended. That's, oh, it is defended. Duh. So I was debating on the rook over, but I was afraid that it wasn't defended. But yeah, I always forget that your king is both offense and defense. So king is a weapon as well. And then we got back to an evenish game. Yeah, so lots of rooms for improvement here. Lots and lots of rooms for improvement for all of us. This unfortunate this queen retreat by my opponent just lost the game. That was just too much. Just too much. Okay. So I got there in the end, but yeah, I got that free rook. Yep. Checkmate in 5 here. Oh, I missed it. I should have gone for this right away. Yeah, it was a wasted tempo move. And then just consolidate into a winnable endgame. So I'm up pawns, 4 pawns to 2, and I'm up a piece. It's a winnable endgame. You just got to convert it. And it doesn't really look like my opponent. Ah, I missed that. I wasn't looking. So a nice fork here, forking the king and the rook. The king has to move, and then you pick up the rook for free. Still a winnable endgame, but yep, pretty easy from there on out. All right, guys, thanks so much for sticking around. This was a lot of fun. This was a Queen's Gambit game. I enjoy the Queen's Gambit. I find it a lot of fun to play. Maybe you guys will too. Give it a shot, but we'll keep seeing if we can get some more Roy Lopez games in. Those are fun too. All right, guys, we'll talk to you later. Bye.